Hey everybody, Dave here, Hidden Off Grid. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about how hiking the Appalachian Trail could be a medical disaster, at least for me. So, some people are aware, maybe some aren't. For the new folks here, I'm quitting my job in about 40 days or so. And then shortly after that, I'll go hike the Appalachian Trail, southbound, 2,200 miles, 14 states, the whole 9 yards. And when I quit my job, I'm gonna lose my health care. I'm gonna be losing my health care when I quit my job. Now, I could get Cobra, but that's not really an option. It technically could have been an option. It's just not gonna be an option for me because I'm gonna make it not an option. So, if you paid attention to the last video, I domiciled in a separate state, but I'm still in the state that I've lived in for several years. My job thinks I'm here and I'm still here, so my job is right to think I'm here because I'm still here. But I'm not gonna change my domicile at my employer in the next 40 days just to say, okay, I'm gonna change the health care and all that, because that technically would mean you qualify for a change of a plan, right? Because you've moved to a different state. Now, I'm not gonna worry about that. I've already decided, I don't know, a month ago that I'm not gonna get Cobra. I'm not gonna go with the Cobra option. Because honestly, the Cobra option doesn't really do much for me anyway, because I'm still stuck in this state, right? Because if you're not aware, healthcare coverage in this state, healthcare coverage in this country sucks. It's really tough because you're tied to a state, right? So what if you were traveling? What if you traveled for work? That's a good example because I traveled for work, right? Well, guess what? You're really not covered in that state you're traveling in. The only time you probably could be seen in that state is if it's a life or death situation. In most cases, some employers have plans that are nationwide. Now that's very rare. If you're a federal or state worker, you might have something like that. A Blue Cross Blue Shield. Say that 10 times fast. A Blue Cross Blue Shield plan could cover you nationwide. Some of them can. But that's not even an option in the state that I'm domiciled in because, matter of fact, they're not taking any new patients in 2022. So and there's no Blue Cross Blue Shield, but there's a provider there that works with Blue Cross Blue Shield. But they're not taking new members anyway. So there you go. So what's the plan going forward? The plan going forward for me is that I'm just going to get on the ACA plan in the state that I'm domiciled in. And I just looked today and it's a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of a blunder on my part that when I calculated the first time as I went there to look at the plans, it came out to like $350 a month or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not that bad, you know. But I didn't put my what do you call it? I didn't put my age in there. So I put my age in there and now it's 420. So, and no, I'm not smoking crack. So 420 is not bad. I'm not complaining about that, but $420 a month for nothing really, because I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to go back to the state and use it. Even if I was living there, you know, I probably wouldn't use it, but, and it really, let's be forthright and frank and honest here. Those premiums per month do you nothing. All they do is give you the privilege to have health care. That's it. It does nothing. It gets you no health care at all, right? It doesn't cover any medical expenses at all, right? So it just gives you the opportunity to have health care. That's all it really is, right? Really what it's doing is just subsidizing all the people that either can't afford health care or, you know, all the people that are sick, right? The people that are healthy like me, knock on wood. So really, so about, you know, $5,000 a year, $6,000 a year is really nothing. It doesn't cover nothing. That gets me a healthcare plan that covers an HSA, and that's one of the requirements I had, because if I did not go with an HSA plan, I could come all the way back down to $300 and something a month. But my plan is I want that HSA because I want to contribute to it, at least while I'm in the States. And that's part of my, overall plan, right? To get the HSA up to $50,000 to $100,000, which I don't think is possible by the time the Medicare kicks in, but it probably could have been if I would have stayed in the States, or I would stay in the States all the way until Medicare hits. But that I don't want to be locked here in the States. And okay, so what if you leave the States? You leave the States for 5 years at a time. Why would you have a healthcare plan here, right? You wouldn't keep a healthcare plan here. So that means you can't contribute to an HSA plan. You would most likely, I'm not even going to talk about international, because international is just it's a different ball game. There's kind of a plan that you can get here that covers international, but in most cases, for me, I probably just wouldn't have any plan at all if I went overseas. But let's talk about that in a separate video or a future video. So my plan is get the plan that's $420 a month. It covers nothing, right? It has a $6,900 deductible and a $6,900 max out of pocket. So what does that mean? That means that if I break an arm or something like that, it cost me $2,500. So guess what? It's $2,500 out of my pocket. Okay, until I hit that $6,900, nothing really is covered at all, right? So that's the max out of pocket per year, and as far as I know it, that's the max I'd have to pay. So if I have $100,000 bill or something like that, I think the max I'd pay is $6,900, right? So that is kind of in my plans, like. The way I look at the monthly, $420 a month, $500 a month, whatever it's going to be, that's just money it's a complete waste, right? It just goes out there. It says, all right, here's $5,000, $6,000 so I can have the right to have health care. That's kind of just something you have to pay regardless. And that's just the way things have been going in this country. Because, 10, 15 years ago, I had Kaiser and it didn't matter. Everything was covered. All I had to do was pay a $30 copay. That was it, and they moved away from that. Nowadays, my current employer, for example, they pay you, a certain amount of money towards your deductible, which, the plan I'm in right now is a super low deductible with my employer. It's like $1,500. They give you most of that to cover that. And then, after that, you're pretty much covered on most of the stuff, but you still have a max out of pocket and all that as well. You still have to pay. So I'm used to the not paying plans, Kaiser, for example. Not to mention, a lot of the plans nowadays and a lot of the employers nowadays, they have you, sign up for certain things to get discounts, right? You got to sign up and take you got to have blood sugar, you got to have cholesterol and all this stuff, which I'm fine with. You go take that and you're good. You get a discount, whatever. They have you take like a survey and talk about your health. When's the last time you did this? When's the last time you did that? Do you smoke? I mean, people can lie on there, I suppose. I don't smoke, but so that's where a lot of the employers are going, and it's going to get worse than that too. They might even tie you to a Fitbit from now on, where you have to actually show that you're walking a certain amount of times per week or being active and all that. Like, that's where things are going. I remember, this is kind of a little off topic, but dental care is another one, right? Dental care is one of those ones where it used to be $1,500 per year, and it didn't matter what you had done. As long as you were covered up to $1,500, it didn't matter. You had 10 cavities in the same tooth, it didn't matter. Nowadays, it's like, okay, you had a cavity in that same tooth, but it was on this side, so okay, that's covered. Okay, you had a cavity in the same tooth, it's on the same side, that's not covered anymore, right? They were talking about sides of teeth now, right? It's not even the same tooth anymore, it's the sides of the same tooth, right? So it's just, this is where we're going. Just get used to paying out of your pocket for everything. And then take the health care as kind of like what I call is a catastrophic event healthcare event, right? Coverage. Like some sort of diagnosis that could be, that could ruin you financially, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars or something like that. That's what the healthcare coverage is for me, okay? So You know, you got diagnosed with something and, you know, you got cancer drugs or whatever, knock on some wood again. You gotta make sure you hear it, of course. You know, that costs $100,000 a year. There you go. That's kind of what the healthcare coverage is for. It's for catastrophic, you know, financial ruining coverage or protection, right? So that's what I'm going to consider my coverage. I'm going to pay out of pocket for everything else. I'm going to pay out of pocket for dental. I'm going to pay out of pocket for anything really. And I got to get used to that because I'm so used to not paying for anything. I don't go to the health. I never really use healthcare at all. And when I do go, I'm going to be pissed because I'm so used to not wanting to pay or not paying at all, or I'm paying $400 a month, so I should get something covered, right? That is not how things are going to work now going forward. $400 a month is complete waste, and I just set that aside, you know, or put that by budget every month, budget every year. And then going forward, I will also put about $7,000 to $10,000 in a, you know, an easy accessible account to cover my deductible. If I don't use it that year, guess what? It rolls over to the next year, and maybe I'll contribute to that account, you know, pseudo account, probably just a high yield savings account every single year, and build that up as well, right? So that way I can get, you know, up to 15,000, up to 10,000, excuse me, up to 20,000, up to 25,000. That way, you know, if I actually need to start having some things done down the road, I can start covering those, right? But if I don't need anything done, then it can just roll over every single year. That's my plan. So when I was talking about being financially ruined or hiking the AT could be devastating, well, guess what? I'm not covered in any of those 14 states. I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail in. So the state I'm domiciled in has nothing to do with those 14 states I'm, you know, hiking the Appalachian Trail in. So in order for me to actually be covered or being seen in any state there to kind of be covered by the plan that I'm going to be in, I practically have to be flatlined. And they almost state that in the documentation. You'd have to be, it's like got to be a life or death situation to be seen and be covered in a state out of that state that I'm domiciled in. And that unfortunately is the way a lot of things are going in this country. So that covers what's going to happen on that Appalachian Trail. If something happens to me out there, non-life threatening or something like that, I'm paying out of pocket. If something happens that's life threatening, depending on how much the bill is, I'll try to get it covered. If not, you know, I still got to pay $1,600 deductible anyway, so well, there you go. And then the ace in the sleeve is going to be just leaving the country, you know, assuming I'm well enough to get on a plane. I'll leave the country and go have some health service done over there because it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be super cheap, and it's going to probably be just as good, if not better, healthcare coverage than we have here anyway. I know everybody thinks that we have good healthcare coverage here, but that's just because they want you to think that. They don't want you to leave the country, but in general, there's plenty of other countries out there that have way better healthcare than we do here. And that is the ace in the sleeve. I can always leave the country to have some service done, dental work done. You know, I can get my whole grill changed if I want, and it will be pennies on the dollar. So that's my plan. I would love to hear what everybody else is going to be doing, because healthcare is the number one thing that is it's the number one unknown, and that's a problem because it's probably one of the biggest expenses too. So I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section. So please go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.